Hello. So these are the portraits I've done for the In the Style of assignment. The first one I did is Albert Dürer. Albert Dürer was known for his extremely accurate realism, which he achieved using the grid method. The grid method divides a subject into several smaller squares. And there's a couple of portraits that Dürer did, highlighting his accurate realism. So I've tried to position my subject so that the focal point at the left eye lines up with the power point in the top right of the rule of thirds composition. I've also studied the values of the face very closely. I tried to get the shadows and highlights as close as possible to where they lie on the face to create an illusion of depth. The grid method helped a lot with the shading and the studying, and I feel like my proportions are more accurate than they would have been if I had just eyeballed it. Next one is Picasso. Picasso is best known for co-founding Cubism and breaking down his subjects into geometric forms. These are some examples of his work. I tried to imitate this by keeping my lines mostly angular and creating depth in the face using solid color blocking, like around here. Picasso aimed to bring out features most prominent in his subjects, and a very striking feature to me about the man in this photo was his very long eyelashes, so I tried to bring emphasis to them by making them sort of irregular, like making the top eyelashes bigger and the bottom eyelashes bigger on this one, similarly to how Picasso experimented with eyelashes in his portraits. And I also did the side face that Picasso liked to do a lot. I also used a cool color palette in this painting. I tried to use the colors with the darkest values, like purple, where it is darkest in the painting. So that would be the hair and the shadows. So that taught me a lot about how to use color and arrange them in a way that brings out the value of the colors and the natural darkness of the purple versus maybe the lightness of a blue. Next one is Chuck Close. Chuck Close is known for innovative conceptual portraiture. He breaks his photos down into very small squares made of dissimilar colors and patterns that create a recognizable form from a distance. And I did my best to recreate this effect by creating various tints and shades of hues that could create one unifying color when placed next to each other, like all of my various shades of purple and tints of purple in the hair and the all-around color that I did for the face. I tried to place patterns in a way that created the highlights and shadows of the face, like around here. So these are tints of the shades over here, and then patterns that emphasize this in the highlights and around areas where a lot of detail was. The extreme level of detail this style takes taught me a lot about unity. There's a lot that tiny details and pattern can do to make an artwork harmonious. The next one is Vincent van Gogh. Vincent van Gogh was known for using tiny brush strokes and a lot of paint to create distinctive impasto brushworks. He also used powerful and vivid colors and often went out of his way to add complementary colors to his artwork. To replicate the impasto works, I did add a little bit of art gel medium into my paint just to thicken it up. I think that the raised tiny brush strokes added a lot of depth to the piece, especially around here, and in the hair it created both a visual texture and a little bit of actual texture where it's raised, and the brush strokes just added like softness, and it's not a straight line, so I think that added visual texture the way that hair is into that hair. I used only various shades of orange and blue for this one, like tints and shades and the chromatic grays between the colors. I also think that my proportions turned out more accurate with this one. I'm quite happy with it. I learned a lot about how to mix colors and balance them throughout the painting. Next one is Piet Mondrian. Mondrian's style involves significant abstraction. He sought to express universal harmony through pure essential elements, and for this reason, he exclusively uses parallel and perpendicular lines in the primary colors. So I paid special attention to line while making this one and trying to get them as straight as possible. And I used space in between the lines to try and recreate my subject's features, like these two being the eyes and the nose and the mouth and that highlight on the side of his chin, the little area of empty space that was always in this corner. This would be the earring underneath the jaw, the shadow of the neck, that little shadow on the right side of the face here, and the end of the hair and the beginning of the shoulders down here. I learned how to better control my brush strokes while making this one, and I tried to learn how to create balance through the movement of my colors, the way that my red's kind of going in this direction and my blue's kind of going in this direction, and I used my yellow to make up big blocks of space and also highlights. So that's what I've made. Thank you for watching.